What is going on, people? Good to have you back on board. Another episode of Unfiltered coming your way right here. And right now, this one officially go down as episode number 311 in your scorecard. You could jump on board 24/7, 365. It is easy. Apple, Spotify, everywhere you get your podcasts. You can go to Twitter, X if you call it that, at Casey Stern. Jump up into the bio after you give a follow, of course. And get to Unfiltered with Casey Stern, which you can get on Instagram. You could also get to the YouTube channel. And there on that channel, like and subscribe and watch all the videos, not just for Unfiltered, but my other podcast, Believe in Mets, with a new episode coming out today with John Gibbons. And also my NBA podcast coming out weekly on Mondays, which you could watch live on my YouTube channel and listen to under the Unfiltered umbrella on the Believe Network, everywhere you get your podcast, called NBA Coast to Coast. So a lot there. Not going to be a lot here in terms of array of topics because I am solely just going to get unfiltered on Paul Skenes and the situation that transpired yesterday, as I do this on a Friday, so Thursday, where he got taken out of a no-hitter. Again, the second time this has happened. He had won 6 innings. By the way, ever, and he's going to break a lot of 11 strikes, pitches. And all of a sudden, he gets taken out of the questions as to whether or not that was the right thing to do. And I have my on that. But first, we'll give our thoughts in large part thanks to our sponsor, BetOnline. They're your number one source for all your sports betting needs this season. They've got baseball, golf, soccer, all the top fights in UFC and MMA, boxing as well. Every stat, every matchup, live odds and spreads, all while the games are being played. Then when they're over, you get over to the online casino, get a game of blackjack or poker, unwind with over 150 slot games. Get over to the website today. Get in on the action. Use the promo code BELIEVE. It's BLEAV. You'll get a 50% free bet credit on your first deposit of up to $250. It is Bet Online. The game starts here, and I will start here with this. This is not as easy as people want to make it. And I've often talked about this over the years. I'm the first person to sit there and tell you that I got no problem being opinionated, especially when it comes to sports, but in life as well. If I feel strongly about something one way or the other, if it's that black or white, I'll go all in. But there is gray area. And it depends in this instance, if you want to look at it rationally, and we're going to try and do that today. It depends what vantage point you are looking at it from. If you're looking at it from a fan standpoint, and we'll get into this, it drives you freaking nuts. If you're looking at it from a standpoint of the game and the historic nature of Major League Baseball and where all the statistics stand in this sport versus others, and I've said this for years, it is a different life in Major League Baseball. And I love the NFL and I love the NHL and I love the NBA. Nobody knows the exact average of points per game from Michael Jordan or how many scoring titles we just don't remember or how many touchdowns Tom Brady threw, unless maybe you're a diehard Pats fan. You don't remember those things, but we all remember all of the numbers in Major League Baseball because it's a different way when it comes to how we look at numbers in the sport. So if you're looking at the history and the importance of history in Major League Baseball, then it drives you nuts there as well. If you're looking at it from the perspective of how this game has changed and how sports have changed, this is not just Major League Baseball. Hello, load management in the NBA and everything that is entailed with that. Let's be fair, right? It's not just pitch counts. But if you look at the way that sports have changed and the game has changed and the landscape has changed and the money in this sport has changed in terms of what investments are and what the investment is of having a control of a player like this, if you're a market in Pittsburgh like you are with the Pittsburgh Pirates, it's a different world. It is just a different place than we used to live in when you talk about the landscape of sports. So if you're being fair about all of that and you look at it in that context, and now you look at this, now you can dissect it, and let's do that. A lot of people have put on this, and I've heard this in the last, not even 24 hours as I do this. Well, Skenes was at 99 pitches. So because of one pitch, because, you can't go over 100 pitches. And that's, what the mentality is, that because of one pitch and he's going to blow out, that we got to take him out of the game after 7 innings at 99. That's not really what happened here, though. Now, first of all, that idea is complete BS and it's moronic. And that idea is out there. We know about that. That's when guys get pulled from games in general. And when we see that happen at 99 pitches, or I've talked to even managers, and look, a lot of this is all of it, really. Let's be fair. Because, I'm going to get on Derek Shelton, who I happen to love personally. Used to have him on as a weekly guest on my show on XM when he first got this job. And he's a great dude. I'm going to get on him in a second for one part of this. But it's not the managers. This is coming down from above. These are not autonomous decisions when it comes down to all of this, or how to handle pitchers, because they're looked at, again, as handling investments for a franchise and an ownership. And you just don't put that on one person, any person, unless it were going to be the owner of the company. In this case, you're not putting it on Derek Shelton or whoever the manager might be. But I've talked to managers who have said, well, he's on like when guys are coming back from like a rehab effort, right? I remember one time, and I'm trying to remember who the manager was, but I remember, I think it was Anibal Sanchez when he was maybe it was with the Tigers, and it was in the postseason, and he had like a 35 pitch count, I think it was, that he was supposed to pitch, and he was at 29. So they took him out before the next inning. And I'm like, well, first of all, why don't you get the 6 pitches or the most out of it? But what if you can get out of that inning in 8 pitches? What if you can make it that easy? Don't you at least try? Well, we got to be careful because this is the exact pitch count. So if you look at that from a standpoint in the landscape of 100, you're right. But here's where you're wrong. The game wasn't over on the next pitch or the next at bat. So if it's after 7 innings and he's at 99 pitches, even if you're talking about somehow he's efficient and he pitches to contact, he no longer, because part of what happens with guys like Skenes and why they can't get to, the end of a 7th inning on 80 pitches, people, is because they're setting you up and operating on you. Getting all those strikeouts requires throwing a lot of pitches. So you can't do that. But then you get to the end of the 7th inning and you still got 2 innings to go. So even if you're efficient, and let's say he could do it in another 25 pitches, now you're talking about 124 pitches. And no, in 2024, you're not letting a kid who's setting the world on fire, who I've already said should start the All-Star game, who's been the best pitcher on the planet really since he came and started throwing at the big league level, which is nuts what he is doing. You can't take that guy and throw him 124 pitches in 2024. And by the way, even 10 years ago, 2014, I was covering the game then. 2004, I was covering the game then. With somebody like this young, just in first season, all of this, you're not doing it then anyway. So you got to be fair. It's not about the 100th pitch. It wasn't about that he's at 99. If there was one batter left, they would have let him go. If that's the end of the 8th inning, now I'm not Derek Shelton. I'm not Ben Cherry. I'm not the Pittsburgh Pirates. And I don't know. And it is 6 of one, half of the other in terms of, conjecture and all of that, right? Hypotheticals. But if that's after 8 innings, he's probably going back out there to at least see, well, let's see what happens in the first batter. Maybe he can get a 2-pitch out. Then we'll let him continue. But we'll have somebody warmed up and ready to go. But it was after the 7th. Now, the part of this that bothered me from where Derek Shelton came from was that he made it sound like it was an easy decision. He noticed he was tiring. I don't want to hear all of that because he didn't look like he was tiring for me. And this wasn't max effort in what he was doing. This guy was dialed in and operating on dudes. Go back and watch the film on this game. It just didn't play out that way. So for me, for Derek Shelton to claim that this was easy, not easy. It's not easy. It's not. So let's not, make it like it is easy to pull a kid, because here's the other part is, what about the player? And what about the kid? And what about the history? And you grow up and you think about, if you're a basketball player, I used to have a hoop in my backyard my whole childhood. Every time, right, it was dark and I knew I had to come in the house, I was always taking the last shot of the game. and you want to hit that buzzer beater. Anybody who ever is a kid dreaming about anything in sports, that's what you do. When I was playing stickball and wiffle ball, you're trying to hit that walk-off home run, even though the term walk-off when I was a kid didn't even exist. But you're trying to throw a no-hitter if you're a pitcher. So what about the kid, right? Well, don't tell me he's tired. He knows he's not tired. And don't tell me it was easy, because I don't want to hear it was easy if I'm him either. I want to know it was difficult. I didn't want to pull him from that game because, man, he probably could have thrown a no-hitter. They weren't going to touch him. But we need him for the long haul. We need him for the big picture. And I couldn't throw him 130 pitches, and he still had 2 innings to go. And that's okay. That rationale works. That holds water, as I like to use the term from my cousin Vinny. But don't tell me it was easy. But neither is this conversation. People jumping out, going crazy, and being like, "Well, they're more. How could they do this? This is the worst part of baseball and all of that." Yes, if it was because the 100th pitch was going to blow his arm out, I agree. If it was the 8th inning or the end of the 8th inning or a batter into the 9th inning, I agree. I do. But I think because you're looking at already 100 pitches and 2 innings to go, you can go back 10 years ago, you can go back 20 years ago, and a kid with 11 starts or whatever it is, I think, in his career, you're not throwing 125 pitches. And what are you going to do? You're going to let him go let's let him go another batter. So he gets another batter. Then it's another batter harder to pull him out. Then you're doing it in the middle of the inning, and you're sitting there. You had a chance to cut it off, and they did. Do I love it as a fan? I freaking hate it. It's terrible. I want the history of the game. I want the happenstance, the pomp, the all that. Give me, inject it. Let's go. But it is not as easy as people are making it out to be. You know what it is? Getting us. Unfiltered with Casey Stern, Instagram, go. Filtered with Casey Stern, YouTube, get over there. And also you get the videos for Believe in Mets and NBA Coast to Coast. And believe in this, we as always on Unfiltered, presented by our good friends